Hey there, Steeler Nation. Flip Fisher coming at you. What I went over in my last video was where the Steelers are sitting with all their offseason expenses. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. We're sitting at 17 million. But we have players that have got to go find a new job elsewhere. We got some other guys that maybe will get their walking papers. Not an overly big fan of it, but we're in the middle of what's going to be a rebuild, and some of these tough choices have to happen. And the third part of this is going to be the nuclear options, the options that I'm so against. I don't want to do any of these because these are renegotiating contracts or basically just moving dead money into future years like we've done for the last decade plus. It's time to quit doing that. It's time to learn from our mistakes in the last decade. We beat 3 playoff teams in the last decade plus. One of those was Matt Moore. One of those was Alex Smith. And another one was, yep, you guessed it, A.J. McCarron's. And we lost to teams such as, Blake Bortles, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes. He's kind of good. We kind of saw that in the playoff game. But we got to make these tough choices so we can get all the nice little weapons that we just saw Patrick Mahomes play with, and the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, or even Joe Burrow, or Ryan Tannehill, for that matter. If we don't make some tough choices, we're going to be the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be the old Cincinnati Bengals. All right, enough of the doom and gloom. Let's get into it. Let's start ripping the guts out of this team and start rebuilding. Let's get rid of Mr. Watt. No, not TJ Watt. Let's get rid of his older brother who plays special teams and I think got his first down ever in his career. Okay, maybe not, but I think he got 1 yard for us this year. You cannot pay. You just can't do it. You cannot pay a special team player $4.7 million that is not named Chris Boswell. That's $200,000 less than Chris Boswell. How many game winners did he hit this year? So he's got to go. I get it. I get that you don't want to, but 2.9 million is 2.9 million. His brother's under contract, so if his brother throws a fit, big whoop. What's he going to do? Nothing. Zach Banner, he's got to have these compromising pictures of Colbert or Art Rooney or Mike Tomlin, whatever. Yeah, I get it. He's a funny guy. He's a really fun guy. But if you can't get on the field, you have no use. If you can't beat out arguably the worst tandem at tackle in the NFL, if you can't beat out either one of them, you have no value on this team. And it's time to go. It's time for us to save $5 million. And yeah, we're going to eat $1.6 million, but big whoop. We're going to save $5 million. The third guy, oh yeah. So this is a guy that I've been beating on since we acquired him, last July, last August, whenever it was, is Joe Schobert. Joe Schobert's got to go. It's got to go. And the really sad thing is what we did with Joe Schobert is we shoved dead money into future years with him, with void years. Void years there. And this money did not come with his contract. We made that happen. So we're going to eat $1.9 million this year. But we're going to save a lot of money. We're going to save over $7.8 million. That's fantastic. That makes that $17 million not so bad. But, whoa, hold on there. We got to remember every time that we cut a player, we have to add some players. So even though that we save $15.6 million from cutting these 3 NFL players, we're also going to be acquiring $2.5 million in displacement. Anytime that we cut somebody off the top, I use 53, OTC uses 51. You're going to acquire about 830,000. I believe it's either 830,000 or 730,000. I'm not going to quibble over $100,000 per player. That's going to be $13.1 million in cap savings. That's huge. That pushes our cap space to $30.1 million. That almost doubled where we were sitting. Now we're going to hop on to part 2, where we look at a couple of players that I don't really want to cut, but now stage number 2 it's different. Remember I said that we're gonna make some cuts here that might not be what we want to do, but they might be necessary ones. Alualu, we gotta love Alualu, really do. This guy was a former first rounder for the Jaguars. And when he came to us, gosh, I really didn't know how he was going to fit. But he fit in kind of perfectly as our nose tackle, which is surprising because he's not a 340-pound guy. He's not a guy that was like a Gravedigger, with a big guy. This guy was the same size as Cam Hayward. But he really excelled. But he's going to be 35. Coming off a big broken ankle injury. How severe is the injury? Was the injury? You got a few bones in your ankle. I would imagine that some bones are way worse to break than others. His salary is really not that big of a deal. Cutting him would save $2.5 million, or if he retired. But you got to remember about displacement, and I'll get into that here in a second. So maybe not the best, but we gotta start scraping for pennies here. We gotta make tough decisions that might not really be that good. Joe Haeg, I personally don't understand why people want to get rid of him. He was the best left tackle we had this year. When Dan Moore Jr. struggled mightily into the second to worst left tackle spot in the NFL. But Haeg, he was nothing special. He was okay. Way better than Moore. Getting rid of him is no big deal. We would save $2.6 million against the cap. We'll get to displacement. Eating $500,000, not a big deal. Remember that the roster bonus, and this will say, there you go, roster bonus due. March 21st, I believe, is the first day of the new league year. So we have plenty of time to make a decision with him. So our subtotal savings with cutting those two guys, 5.1 million. Displacement would cost 1.6 million. So we would actually save 3.6 million. Now, the big thing that stinks with that is we lose experience off of both sides of the line. You know, not a big deal on the defensive tackle side. Really not. Offensive tackle, yeah. You know, our offensive line is so young and inexperienced, and for the most part, terrible, that Hag would almost be worth the cost. Almost. But it depends on what we're really wanting to do in the offseason. So with that total, 3.6 million, that pushes our cap savings through stage 2 to 33.7 million. Now we're going to get on to the stage 3. Now we get into the third stage. And I'm going to say, the third stage, I'm absolutely against every single part of it. The third stage is throwing into the face everything that happened in the last 11 years. At least 10 years. This is ignoring all the issues that we've had over the past decade plus by constantly kicking a can down the road. In the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, we're seriously going to have over 60 million in dead cap space over the past 2 years. That sucks. That's a tremendous amount. But now we're looking at doing that. Again, we're looking at doing it for more in 2022, and we're even talking about putting dead cap space into 2023. This is terrible. We can't do this when we start a rebuild. And what's the point? Are we seriously 5 players away from being Super Bowl contenders in 2022? My gosh, we just watched Buffalo and Kansas City duke it out left and right. And Buffalo was the top-rated defense for 2022. Yeah, they were missing Trey White, arguably the top shutdown corner in the NFL. But they still had the best safety tandem in the NFL. And Kansas City did whatever they wanted. And Kansas City's defense sucks. And so Buffalo did whatever they wanted. But we also looked at the Bengals and Tennessee. And the Bengals killed us both times this year. And we got lucky against Tennessee that they decided to see how many turnovers they could have in a 4-minute span. Otherwise, that could have easily been a Tennessee blowout. So I'm going to get off my soapbox there. Let's get into the nuclear option. Oh, boy. Okay, so let's look at Stephen Tuitt. He'll be 29. Gosh, he's just coming off an 11 sack year. I get it. That's his best year. And I get that 6 games played, 14 games played, 12, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's had injury issues. And again this year. Well, hello, that's the NFL. Players get hurt. That is the name of the game. But there's certain things we can do with Tuitt. We can cut him. And we can eat his $9.7 million this year. Save about $4.3 million. Or we can look at moving some money around here. Which, the problem is, we renegotiated this deal, and we kicked, $4.7 million down the road, give or take. So foolish to do that. But what we can do is we can push that $9 million down the road. Yuck. And what we can do with that is we can shove 4.7 million into 2023. I'm so against this. I really am. It'd be basically splitting that 9 million in half. I'm just so against that. I really am. The other part of the nuclear option is, what do we do with Big Ben? The contract that keeps on giving. $260 million plus for his career, and we're going to be paying him in 2023. Maybe. Absolutely paying him in 2022. But do we want to pay him $10 million this year, or basically $2.5 million this year and $7.5 million next year? We can actually make that happen by turning this 2022 void year into a real year. But we don't have to eat that because it's really actually not guaranteed for the base salary. So, do we want $12.5 million in dead cap by doing the nuclear option with those two? I don't want to do that. I really don't. Just eat it. Eat it this year. I get it. $16.8 million in savings between those two players before displacement. So it'd really be $15.2 million 2022 cap savings. $12.5 million gets kicked into 2023. So we could be up to $49 million. At what expense? At what expense? We can even get crazier here. These are just insane ideas. We could move TJ Watts. We can move some of his cap space into future years. He's got $24 million guaranteed. Well, let's ignore that because, the next couple of years are absolutely guaranteed. There's just no doubt. What we can do is we can shift, it's basically 22.8 million, 22.9 million, however you want to slice it, into future years, which is going to end up being about $17 million in cap savings this year. Oh my gosh. But you jam those big numbers into future years, and you're talking over $30 million. 2023, 2024, 2025. Over $23 million. That's jamming, $12.5 million from those other two contracts into 2023. Is it worth it? Are we really going to be competitive in 2022? Who's our quarterback? Rudolph? Raise your hand if you think Rudy's actually going to pull out 8 wins with a garbage team. Seriously, we can get to what, 56? No, we can get to what, 65 million? 65 million in cap savings. We can even get dumber. Do you think that's a bad idea? Let's go with Cam Hayward here. Let's go with 32, soon to be 33-year-old Cam Hayward. Let's get done with his contract. Why not kick? Geez, why not kick $10 million? It'll be a little less than that, but basically $10 million. Why don't we kick that in the future years? It'd be about $6 million we could do that with. It'd be about $3 million per year. Why not pay him 2023 and 2024 to make more than Aaron Donald those 2 years? And I love Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward's an awesome player for us. And he put up a good year. But as far as a defensive lineman, Aaron Donald is an absolute stallion. And he's better than Cam Hayward. And there's not any rationale on this earth why we should pay Cam Hayward more in 2023 and 2024 just so we can get to, what, 70 million in cap savings? Whatever the figure is. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. You can play with the numbers all you want, but all you're going to do is you're going to hurt the team in the long run. We're going to be the same team that has won 3 playoff games in over a decade. Those 3 playoff wins are against Matt Moore, Alex Smith, AJ McCarron's. Art Rooney II came out last summer and talked about how the Steelers needed change. And I fully back him on that. The thing is, we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We can't keep renegotiating contracts. We can't keep signing bad players to bad contracts. We can't keep bringing players into our system that don't fit our system. We're not going to mold our system around Joe Schobert. It's not going to happen. There's no reason to push 50, 60, 70 million in cap space into future years for 2022. We're not getting Aaron Rodgers. We're not getting Russell Wilson. We don't even have cornerbacks right now. In my next video that I'm hoping to get out very soon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where we stand next year, this year, however you want to say it, where we stand in 2022 roster-wise. Here's our roster. How does that actually, what does our depth chart look like? That's what I'm going to show you. All right, all. Be sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my content. Hey, give me a thumbs down. I'm fine with that. But explain to me in the comments section why you would give me a thumbs down. Be sure to subscribe and also to ring that bell to get notified when I put up new content. All right, all. Take care. Laters.